Social Security is confusing enough on its own. But once you add in factors like marriage, divorce, and widowhood, it gets even more confusing. Now, the good news is that if you're married or were married, you may be entitled to spousal benefits that could dramatically boost your retirement income. So in this video, I'm going to break down in plain English how spousal benefits work while your spouse is still alive, how the benefits work if you're divorced, how the survivor benefits work if your spouse or your ex-spouse has passed away, what's changed with the old file and suspend or restricted application process, and how to actually apply and avoid common mistakes. So by the end of this video, you'll have a stronger foundation to be able to ask better questions and make smarter decisions before you actually claim. So let's start with the big idea first. As a spouse, you may qualify for two different types of retirement benefits. A benefit based on your own record and a spousal benefit that's based on your husband or your wife's record. And no, you cannot receive both in full at the exact same time. So here's what actually happens. Social Security first calculates your own benefit, then it'll calculate what you would receive as a spouse. So if your spousal benefit is higher, they don't give you both, they just give you the higher of the two. So technically what you're getting is either your own benefit or your own benefit plus the difference that you will receive as a spouse. So essentially it's the same thing. You're gonna get the greater of the two no matter what. Just technically it's your own benefit plus an extra step up to give you that full amount. And that's why sometimes you'll see this phrase. You'll receive a combination of benefits equaling the higher amount. So when you hear spousal benefits, just think that it's 50% of my spouse's benefit if it's higher than my own personal benefit. I hope that helps and makes sense. So now let's look at the numbers. So your spousal benefit can be up to 50% of your spouse's full retirement benefit, which is also called their primary insurance amount, or PIA for short. Okay, so here's some important details you have to remember. That 50% is based on what your spouse is entitled to at their full retirement age, not the higher amount they may get if they delay to age 70. Also, your spousal benefit does not get the 8% per year delay retirement credits. And to get the full 50%, you have to wait to your own full retirement age. So if you decide to claim that spousal benefit early, that number will be reduced. And that's something a lot of people get confused about. So here's some examples where full retirement age is 66. So if you claim at age 66, you get 50% of your spouse's full benefit. If you claim at 65, you get about 45.8% of your spouse's benefit. Claim at 64, you get about 41.7%. Claim at 63, you get about 37.5%. And if you claim at 62, you get about 35%. So if your spouse's full retirement age benefit is $2,000 a month, at your full retirement age, your spousal benefit would be that $1,000, which is 50% of that $2,000. But if you decide to take benefits early at 62, that benefit amount drops to about $700 a month. And that reduction is permanent. It doesn't jump back up later. So anytime you're thinking about spousal benefits, you must ask this one question. So what's my full retirement age and what happens if I file before then? Now, to qualify for regular spousal benefits, you must be at least 62 years old, and your spouse must already be receiving their Social Security retirement or their disability benefits. And if you're a high earner, your spouse may be the one that collects their spousal benefit on your record instead. So here are some key rules you definitely want to be aware of. Spousal benefits can only be paid once the higher earning spouse has filed their own benefit. Claiming a spousal benefit does not reduce what the primary worker receives. Their benefit will actually stay the same. And lastly, if you qualify for a retirement benefit on your own record that's larger than your spousal amount, you simply receive your own benefit. You will not receive the spousal benefit at all. So those are just some things to make a note of. Now here's a big rule change that trips a lot of people up. In the past, there were strategies called file and suspend and restricted application. Now what these strategies did was allow couples to play a little more advanced games when it came to claiming their benefits. But for most people today, those options are no longer available. Because if you were born after January 1st, 1954, you're generally subject to what's called deemed filing. All that means is when you apply for a benefit, whether it be your own or your spousal benefit, you're treated as if you apply for both at the same time, so you end up just getting the higher of the two. So you can't say, I'll just take my spousal benefit now and let my own benefit grow until age 70. That would be great, but unfortunately you can't do that anymore. So now let's talk about divorce, because this is where a lot of people leave money on the table. Believe it or not, you may be able to receive spousal benefits on your spouse's record, even though they got remarried. And on top of that, if their current spouse is already collecting spousal benefits on their record, you can still collect benefits on their record too. So here are the rules and guidelines around that. So your marriage to your ex-spouse must have lasted at least 10 years. You must be at least 62 years old to get a divorced spouse benefit. Earlier if you're claiming for a surviving spouse, but we'll talk about that later. Your ex must be eligible for Social Security and in most cases actually receiving their benefits. Now there is a special rule that says if your ex is eligible but hasn't filed yet and you've been divorced for at least 2 years, you can still apply based on their record. Now you must understand it doesn't matter if your ex is married, but it does matter if you get remarried. Because to get divorce spousal support, generally you must be unmarried. But if you got remarried and then got divorced again, you could potentially choose which ex-spouse's record you want to claim on. And there's no problem doing so just as long as each marriage lasted at least 10 years. And if you were born before January 2nd, 1954, there's still some leftover flexibility with the old rules I talked about. Which means in some cases you may have been able to file a restricted application and allows your own personal benefit to grow over time. But if you were born after that date, more than likely all those advanced strategies are gone. Now, spousal benefits while your spouse is alive is one thing, but spousal benefits after your spouse or your ex-spouse dies, that's a whole different ballgame. Those are based on completely different rules. So if your spouse passes away, you may be eligible to collect your benefits as early as age 60 or even 50 if you're disabled. And you can receive 100% of what your spouse was receiving or was entitled to receive, of course, with the reductions if you decide to file early. So here are a few key survivor rules. If you claim before your own full retirement age, your survivor benefit will be reduced. If you remarry before age 60 or 50 if you're disabled, you generally cannot receive survivor benefits on your late spouse's record, unless that later marriage ends. And if you remarry after age 60, you can still receive survivor benefits on your former spouse's record. So those are the rules for the surviving spouse. Now there's different rules for a surviving divorced spouse. So in that situation, if your ex-spouse has died and your marriage lasted at least 10 years, you may qualify for survivor benefits on their record. Also, you can often claim as early as age 60 or 50 if you're disabled, even if your ex had remarried. And lastly, if you had been denied survivor spouse in the past, particularly in same-sex marriage before legalization, it may be worth contacting Social Security again because there have been important court decisions that change eligibility for many people. Now, there's also special survivor benefits if you're taking care of a deceased worker's child and they're disabled or they're still a minor. So you can receive benefits for raising that child until they turn age 16. And the children themselves can also receive benefits until age 18 or 19 if in school and longer if they're disabled. And one more important note, the survivor benefit is different than the spousal benefit, because sometimes they get clumped together as if they're the same, but they're completely different. Spousal benefits while you're both alive is capped at 50% of your spouse's full retirement benefit. And survivor benefits can be up to 100% of what your spouse was getting or what they were entitled to. And delayed retirement credits do matter here, because if your spouse delayed beyond full retirement age, that extra benefit increases your survivor benefit. So how do you actually claim these benefits? You can apply online at ssa.gov by creating a My Social Security account. You can call Social Security at the number listed, or you can make an appointment at your local Social Security office. And to make things easier before you do any of that, you want to have all these pieces of information handy and ready. Your spouse's or ex-spouse's date of birth, their Social Security number, that's of course if you have it, your marriage certificate, your divorce decree if you're applying on an ex record, and your own birth certificate and recent W-2s or tax returns. And one last important note, Social Security rules are very complicated, and not every representative will know all the features, benefits, or what's entailed. And I'm just being honest with you. And that's why it's so important to learn the basics before you call, write down the questions you want to ask ahead of time. And if your situation is more complex with age gaps, multiple marriages, disabilities, and things like that, don't hesitate to reach out to a financial planner. Just make sure it's an actual financial planner that understands Social Security. And I'll leave you with this. Spousal benefits, divorce benefits, and survivor benefits can be worth tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's worth investing the time to learn this because I don't want you to leave money on the table just because it seems like it's confusing. So I hope this video helps. Share it with someone that needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.